500 years. That's how old this next business is. Half a millennium. And a guy running it out of a van in upstate New York just cleared $130,000 last year working 7 months. The other 5 months he took off. No office, no warehouse, no employees, just a set of brushes, a camera, and a skill that 99% of the population forgot existed. Everyone's chasing the next thing, the next app, the next AI tool, the next crypto play. But here's a number most people walk right past. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, businesses in traditional skilled trades have a 5-year survival rate above 85%. Meanwhile, roughly 90% of tech startups don't make it past year 3. The oldest, most unglamorous industries on earth aren't just surviving. They're quietly generating wealth that would make most Silicon Valley founders jealous. After studying the industries with the longest track records and the strongest margins, I found 10 that have been around for decades, some for centuries, and they're still making serious money right now. Some of these will surprise you. And the last one on this list is so old that one of America's founding fathers built his career on it before he ever became president. Today it's facing a massive shortage of workers, and the people who are in it are earning more than most white-collar professionals. My name is John. Let's get into it. Number 10, chimney sweeping and inspection. Let's start with something that sounds like it belongs in a Charles Dickens novel. Chimney sweeps. Guys in top hats covered in soot, right? The profession dates back to the 1500s in England. That's over 500 years of continuous operation. And here's what most people don't realize. It's not just surviving, it's thriving. The U.S. chimney services industry generates approximately $1.5 to $2 billion annually, according to the Chimney Safety Institute of America and IBIS World Estimates. There are roughly 17.5 million homes in America with wood-burning fireplaces, plus millions more with gas fireplaces. And here's the number that matters. There are only about 3,500 to 4,000 CSIA-certified chimney sweeps in the entire country. Do that math. That's thousands of homes per certified sweep. A standard chimney cleaning and inspection costs $150 to $350. A solo operator running 4 to 5 appointments a day can generate $80,000 to $130,000 annually. And the work is seasonal, which means some of these guys make their entire year's income between September and March, then take the rest of the year off. On our sweaty startup, one chimney sweep posted that he started 3 years ago with $5,000 in equipment. Now he runs 2 crews and did $420,000 last year. Another operator wrote that he works 5 days a week during the 7-month season, does 4 to 5 jobs a day at $200 to $300 per job, and earns enough to take the other 5 months completely off. Startup costs? $15,000 to $40,000 for basic equipment, a truck, and a CSIA certification course. Profit margins? 40% to 60% because the primary cost is your time and the equipment lasts for years. And here's something almost nobody tells you. Chimney fires cause an estimated $200 million in property damage annually. Insurance companies know this. Many homeowners' policies now require proof of annual chimney inspection. That's not optional demand. That's legally mandated recurring revenue. But here's the part nobody mentions. The real money in chimney sweeping isn't just the sweep itself, it's the upsell. Roughly 1 out of every 6 to 7 inspections uncovers a structural problem. A cracked flue liner, a damaged crown, a missing cap. Those repairs cost $1,000 to $5,000 each. He came in for a $250 cleaning and walked out with a $3,000 repair job. That's the business within the business. And over 50% of active chimney sweeps in the U.S. are over age 50, which means this industry is about to have the same workforce crisis you'll see repeating across this entire list. Number 9, taxidermy. This one catches people off guard. Taxidermy, mounting and preserving animals. It sounds like a quirky hobby your uncle does in his basement. But the U.S. taxidermy services market is estimated at $650 million to $800 million annually, according to IBIS World. There are roughly 6,000 to 8,000 taxidermy businesses operating in America, and most of them are booked solid. A standard deer shoulder mount costs $500 to $800. A full body mount runs $2,000 to $5,000 or more. A skilled taxidermist handling 80 to 150 deer heads per season, plus other animals, can generate $80,000 to $200,000 in annual revenue. And profit margins are staggering, 50% to 70%. Why? Because the primary cost is the taxidermist's skill and time. The materials, the forms, the chemicals, they're inexpensive relative to what the customer pays. Here's the thing most people miss about taxidermy. It rides on the back of a massive industry. The U.S. hunting economy generates over $27.4 billion annually, according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Every hunter who bags a trophy buck or a prize elk is a potential customer. And the supply of taxidermists is shrinking. The The average age of professional taxidermists is climbing, retirements are accelerating, and not enough young people are entering the trade. On our taxidermy and hunting forums, operators talk about wait times of 12 to 18 months. One posted that he can't take new customers until next year. Another shared that he runs a six-figure business from a converted garage. Startup costs? $5,000 to $15,000 for a home-based setup. A dedicated shop with a walk-in freezer runs $20,000 to $50,000. Those margins mean you can pay off your startup costs within the first season. Let me be honest with you for a moment. If you told most people that stuffing dead animals could make you a six-figure income, they'd laugh. And that's exactly the point. The boring factor, the nobody dreams about this factor, is what keeps the competition low and the demand high. And here's a detail that might surprise you. Pet taxidermy is now one of the fastest growing segments. The global pet taxidermy market is valued at $200 million and projected to reach $350 million by 2033, growing at 8% per year. That's 10 times faster than traditional game taxidermy. People love their pets. And when they lose them, some want more than a photograph. That's a market segment that didn't exist 20 years ago, built on top of an industry that's been running for centuries. Number 8, piano tuning and repair. This is a 325-year-old industry. The piano was invented in 1700 by Bartolomeo Cristofori in Italy. And for over 3 centuries, someone has needed to tune and maintain them. That hasn't changed. What has changed is how few people are left who know how to do it. The Piano Technicians Guild estimates there are approximately 10 million pianos in American homes. Each one should ideally be tuned 1 to 2 times per year. The Guild has roughly 4,000 registered members. That means there are about 2,500 pianos per registered tuner in the United States. Let that sink in. You could work every single day for the rest of your career and never run out of pianos to tune. A standard tuning costs $100 to $200 per visit. A full-time piano tuner doing 4 to 6 tunings per day can earn $80,000 to $120,000 annually. And those are just tunings. Piano rebuilding and restoration can command $5,000 to $30,000 per project. The Piano Technicians Guild reports that experienced tuner technicians can earn $60,000 to $150,000 a year. Profit margins sit at 70% to 85% because once you're trained, the tools last for years and there are virtually no material costs per job. You show up, you tune, you get paid. On our piano, users constantly talk about how hard it is to find a tuner. One posted that their tuner has a 6-week wait and everyone they know is in the same boat. On the Piano World forums, a tuner with 25 years of experience shared that he has over 400 regular clients. Each one needs a tuning once or twice a year. That's built-in recurring revenue without a single subscription model or software platform. Here's the pattern you'll notice repeating across this entire list. An aging workforce, rising demand, and almost nobody entering the trade. It's the same pattern over and over, and the people who see it are the ones making money. Number 7, towing services and roadside assistance. The first tow truck was built in 1916 by a guy named Ernest Holmes in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He used a crane, some pulleys, and a chain mounted to a 1913 Cadillac. Over 100 years later, the industry he started is worth approximately $13.5 billion annually in the United States, according to IBIS World. Here's why towing is one of the most structurally protected businesses in America. There are approximately 290 million registered vehicles on U.S. roads. Every single one of them is a potential customer. The average American driver will need a tow 2 to 3 times in their lifetime. And when you need a tow, you need it now. You don't comparison shop. You don't check Yelp reviews while your car is sitting in the middle of a highway at 2 in the morning. You call whoever answers first. An independent tow truck operator can earn $50,000 to $100,000 a year. A small company with 3 to 5 trucks can generate $300,000 to $800,000 in annual revenue. Average per tow fee sits at $75 to $150 for standard hookup, with long distance or heavy duty tows commanding $250 to $500 or more. And here's what nobody tells you about towing. The real money isn't in the tow itself, it's in the impound lot. Storage fees of $25 to $50 per day per vehicle add up fast. Police rotation contracts and highway patrol agreements provide steady, contractually guaranteed income. On our sweaty startup, one operator shared that he runs 2 trucks and cleared $180,000 last year. Another wrote that he bought a used flatbed for $25,000, got on the police rotation list, and within 6 months was doing $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Startup costs range from $30,000 to $150,000, depending on whether you buy used or new equipment. Profit margins land between 20% and 35%, higher with impound contracts. Think about it like this. As long as people drive cars, and as long as cars break down, this business has customers. And last I checked, we're not getting rid of cars anytime soon. And here's another thing worth knowing. Over 80% of towing businesses are small, local independent shops with 1 to 3 trucks. No single national company holds more than 5% of the market. That fragmentation is your advantage. You're not competing against a Walmart of towing. You're competing against a handful of local guys, and most of them are booked. Still with me? Good. Because now we enter the second half of this list, and the businesses get more interesting and less obvious. Number 6, ornamental blacksmithing and custom metalwork. This one goes back to the Middle Ages. Literally, blacksmiths were the backbone of every village in medieval Europe. They made tools, weapons, horseshoes, hinges, nails. Without the blacksmith, civilization didn't function. Then the Industrial Revolution happened and mass production took over. Everyone assumed blacksmithing was dead. It's not dead, it evolved. The U.S. architectural and ornamental metalwork manufacturing market generates approximately $8 to $10 billion annually, according to IBIS World. And the solo operators and small shops doing custom gates, railings, staircases, and architectural pieces are the ones with the fattest margins. A single custom iron gate can sell for $5,000 to $50,000, depending on complexity. Established shops with a small team report $150,000 to $500,000 or more in annual revenue, and the margins are extraordinary, 40% to 60%. Because the raw material, steel and iron, is cheap. What's expensive is the skill. You're not paying for metal, you're paying for the hands that shaped it. On Our Blacksmith and Our Metalworking, craftsmen discuss the profitability of custom residential work. One posted that he quit his engineering job to do a custom metalwork full-time and is making more now doing gates and railings for high-end homes. The Artist Blacksmiths Association of North America has seen membership grow steadily as interest in artisan metalwork increases. And here's the detail that creates a natural moat around this business. Historical restoration projects, churches, government buildings, Victorian-era homes, they require custom metalwork that cannot be outsourced overseas. It has to be done locally, by hand, to specification. That's a structural barrier to competition that no amount of technology can disrupt. Matthew Crawford wrote about this beautifully in shop class as soulcraft. He argued that work you do with your hands, work that requires judgment and skill applied to physical material, is more valuable than ever in a knowledge economy, precisely because so few people can do it. That's the thesis of this entire list. Number 5, monument and headstone engraving. Here's a business that is as old as death itself. The earliest known grave markers date back to approximately 3000 BC, 5,000 years of continuous demand. And the demand has a unique characteristic that makes it unlike almost any other business on this list. It's mathematically guaranteed. Approximately 2.8 to 3 million people die in the United States every year. That number is increasing as the baby boomer generation ages. The U.S. monument and headstone industry is estimated at $2.2 to $2.8 billion annually, according to IBIS World, spread across roughly 3,100 to 5,000 monument companies. A standard upright granite headstone costs $1,000 to $5,000. Custom and high-end monuments can run $10,000 to $25,000 or more. An established monument company with a showroom and installation crew can generate $500,000 to $2 million in annual revenue. Profit margins sit at 40% to 60% because the granite itself is relatively inexpensive. The value is in the craftsmanship, the engraving, and the installation. On RR Small Business, a monument shop owner posted that he's been in the business for 15 years and called it recession-proof in the most literal sense. His exact words were, "People always die, the demand never stops." Another operator on a funeral industry forum noted, "This is the most predictable business I've ever been in. The mortality rate doesn't change with the economy." Now you might think cremation is killing this industry. Cremation now accounts for over 60% of dispositions in the U.S., but here's what nobody tells you. Many families who choose cremation still purchase memorial markers, columbarium plaques, and memorial benches. The product changed. The demand didn't disappear. Multi-generational monument companies are common in this space. Many have been family-run for 50 to 100 years. That kind of longevity isn't luck. It's structural demand. Number 4, commercial ice manufacturing and delivery. Before refrigerators existed, there was a man named Frederick Tudor who, in the early 1800s, figured out how to cut ice from frozen lakes in New England and ship it to the Caribbean. They called him the Ice King. He was laughed at, went bankrupt twice, and ended up dying a millionaire. Carl Seeberg wrote the whole story in a book called The Ice King. The industry Tudor invented is still here, and it's bigger than ever. The U.S. packaged ice market is valued at approximately $4.3 to $4.7 billion annually, according to Packaged Facts. You're selling frozen water. Think about that. The raw material is essentially free. You freeze it, bag it, and deliver it. And somehow this generates billions. A single ice delivery route serving gas stations, restaurants, and convenience stores can produce $100,000 to $300,000 in annual revenue. An ice manufacturing plant with multiple routes can do $1 million to $5 million annually. Profit margins on ice manufacturing run 30% to 50%. On delivery routes, 20% to 35%. On our sweaty startup, a user shared that he bought an ice delivery route for $80,000 that was doing $180,000 a year in revenue. His comment was, "The margins are insane when you think about it. You're selling frozen water." And he's right. Americans consume approximately 28 pounds of ice per capita per year. Every restaurant, every gas station, every convenience store, every event, every bar needs ice delivered regularly. The demand is constant, predictable, and recession-proof because people don't stop buying cold drinks when the economy dips. Here's something almost nobody tells you about the ice business. Ice is legally classified as food by the FDA. That means it has to meet federal sanitation standards, health department inspections, water quality testing, facility compliance. That sounds like a hassle. It's actually your moat, because those regulations keep amateurs and fly-by-night operators out of the market. The guy with a chest freezer in his garage can't compete with you. He's literally not allowed to. Let's do the simple math. If you run one delivery route serving 40 locations, and each location orders $150 worth of ice per week, that's $6,000 a week, $312,000 a year from one route and one truck. And the cost of producing a 10-pound bag of ice, about $0.25 to $0.40. You sell it wholesale for $1.25 to $2. That's a 3x to 5x markup on frozen water. Number 3, grain milling and feed mills. This is literally one of the oldest industries in human civilization. Grain milling dates back to approximately 10,000 BC. That's 12,000 years of continuous operation. If there's a business model that's been tested by time, it's this one. The U.S. animal feed manufacturing market is valued at approximately $80 billion annually, according to the American Feed Industry Association. There are approximately 5,800 animal feed manufacturing establishments in the U.S., and small-town feed mills are the backbone of rural America in a way that most urban and suburban people never see. A small-town feed mill can generate $500,000 to $3 million in annual revenue. They grind grain, mix custom feed rations for local farmers, and often serve as community hubs selling everything from fencing supplies to pet food alongside the feed. Net margins on commodity feeds run 10% to 20%. But here's where it gets more interesting. The artisan grain movement has created an entirely new revenue stream. Specialty grain mills selling heritage flour to bakeries, restaurants, and direct to consumers can earn $100,000 to $500,000 with margins of 25% to 40%. Stone ground, locally milled flour commands a premium that commodity flour from a massive corporate mill never will. Bob Quinn and Liz Carlisle wrote about this revival in Grain by Grain, documenting how ancient wheat varieties and local mills are creating new economic opportunities in rural communities that were left behind by industrial agriculture. The pattern here is the same one we've seen in craft beer, specialty coffee, and artisan bread. People will pay more for local, authentic, traceable products. And a grain mill that's been running since your great-grandfather's time has authenticity that money can't buy. On farming forums and OR farming, farmers talk about the importance of their local feed mill. One user noted that his local mill has been operating since the 1940s. The owner's grandson runs it now, and they know every farmer in the county by name. That relationship is worth more than any marketing budget. Number 2, well drilling and water well services. Here's a business that predates written history. Humans have been digging wells since before we could write about digging wells. The oldest known wells are over 8,000 years old. And in 2026, this ancient industry is worth $924 billion in the United States alone, according to Data Horizon Research, projected to hit $18 billion by 2033. Why? Because over 42 million Americans depend on private water wells, according to the National Groundwater Association. That's 13 million households. And wells don't last forever. They need drilling, maintenance, pump replacement, and water treatment. The demand is permanent and growing as more people move to rural and semi-rural areas where municipal water doesn't reach. A single residential well costs the homeowner $5,000 to $15,000, depending on depth and geology. An established well drilling company with 2 to 3 rigs can generate $500,000 to $2 million in annual revenue. Well pump service and repair technicians earn $60,000 to $100,000 annually. Profit margins on drilling jobs run 20% to 40%, with higher margins on service and repair. Here's what makes this industry especially interesting. The barrier to entry is real. You can't watch a YouTube video and start drilling wells tomorrow. It requires specialized equipment, licensing, geological knowledge, and years of experience. A used drilling rig alone costs $50,000 to $150,000. A new one runs $200,000 to $500,000. Total startup with rig, truck, tools, licensing, and insurance ranges from $100,000 to $500,000. That barrier keeps competition out, and that barrier is your best friend. Because the same thing that makes it hard to start is what protects you once you're in. But here's what nobody tells you. You don't have to start by drilling. The smarter entry point is well pump service and repair. You can get into that side of the business for $15,000 to $50,000. Fix pumps, service existing wells, build relationships with homeowners. Then, once you've got cash flow and knowledge, you invest in a rig and start drilling. That's how the guys who last 30 years in this industry got started, not with a $500,000 rig on day one, with a truck, a toolbox, and a willingness to crawl into well pits. On forums like r Sweaty Startup, users describe well drilling as a license to print money in rural areas. One user who inherited a well drilling business noted consistent demand because wells don't last forever and always need service. On contractor forums, well drillers report earning $150,000 or more with one rig and one helper. And with 80% of well drilling companies being owner-operators with 1 to 4 employees, this is not an industry dominated by corporations. It's an industry of small operators who know their county, know their geology, and have more work than they can handle. Morgan Housel writes in Same as Ever that the businesses which endure across generations aren't the ones that chase what's new. They're the ones that serve what never changes. Human beings will always need water. That need doesn't go away with a recession. It doesn't get disrupted by an app. It's as permanent as anything in business can be. And now, number one. Number one, land surveying. This is the one I said would surprise you. Land surveying. The practice of measuring and mapping the Earth's surface to determine property boundaries and terrain features. It sounds like something from a history textbook. That's because it literally is. George Washington was a land surveyor. Before he led an army, before he was president, he was a 17-year-old kid walking through the Virginia wilderness with a chain and a compass, measuring property lines. Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, they both worked as surveyors early in their careers. Land surveying is one of the founding professions of the United States, and it's worth approximately $8.6 to $10 billion annually in the U.S. alone, according to IBIS World. Globally, the surveying services market is projected to exceed $55 billion by 2030. A licensed land surveyor earns a median salary of $65,000 to $85,000 as an employee. But the real money is in owning the firm. An independent surveying firm with 2 to 5 employees can generate $200,000 to $500,000 in annual revenue. A simple boundary survey costs $300 to $800. Alta. Surveys for commercial real estate transactions can cost $2,000 to $5,000 or more. Net margins for surveying firms typically run 25% to 40%. Here's why this is number one on this list. Every single real estate transaction in America legally requires a survey. Every construction project, every infrastructure project, roads, bridges, cell towers, solar farms, subdivisions, none of it gets built without a licensed surveyor signing off. The demand isn't just strong, it's legally mandated. And now here's the part that changes everything. The National Society of Professional Surveyors has issued what they call a surveyor shortage crisis. The average age of a licensed surveyor in America is 58 to 60 years old. Half the profession is retiring within the next 10 years, and there are not enough new licensees coming in to replace them. On R Surveying, professionals discuss this constantly. One posted, "The average age of a licensed surveyor is 58. Half the profession is retiring in the next 10 years, and there aren't enough new ones coming in." Another surveyor shared his story on R&S Small Business. He left his corporate job, bought used equipment, and started taking on boundary surveys. Within 2 years, he was doing $300,000 in revenue with one helper. One truck, one helper, $300,000. Let's do the math one more time. A surveyor charging $600 per residential boundary survey, completing 3 surveys per week with one helper, generates a $1,800 per week. 93 has to do $600 per year. And that's at the low end, doing only residential work. Add in a few commercial Alta surveys at $3,000 to $5,000 each, and you're well above $150,000. With one truck, one helper, and a license that takes years to get but protects you forever once you have it. Andrew Linklater wrote a book called Measuring America about how land surveying literally shaped the nation. The rectangular survey system, the township grid, the property boundaries that make real estate ownership possible in this country, it was all laid out by surveyors with chains and compasses 250 years ago. And the profession that built the foundation of American property law is now running out of people who know how to do it. That's not a problem for the industry. That's an opportunity for anyone willing to enter it. And here's the uncomfortable truth behind this entire list. None of these industries are glamorous. Nobody's making TikToks about chimney sweeping. Nobody's hosting podcasts about taxidermy. You will never see a grain mill on the cover of Forbes. And that's exactly why they work. The businesses that everyone ignores are the ones with the least competition, the most predictable demand, and the widest margins. Thomas Stanley studied this pattern for decades. In The Millionaire Next Door, he found that the majority of American millionaires don't own tech companies or hedge funds. They own businesses like welding shops, pest control companies, paving operations, and yes, trades that have been around for generations. They drive used trucks, they live in modest homes, and their net worth would shock you. The pattern isn't complicated. It's just invisible because nobody's filming it. Let me leave you with something. Imagine two people, Marcus and Tyler, same age, same town, same savings. Marcus spent 3 years chasing shiny ideas, an app, a dropshipping store, a social media agency. Each one felt exciting for a few months. Each one collapsed. He's back at square one with nothing to show for it. Tyler bought a used drilling rig and started servicing wells in his county. It wasn't glamorous. Some days he came home covered in mud, but by year 3, he had 2 rigs running, a helper on each one, and was clearing $250,000 a year in a business that his grandfather would have understood perfectly. The difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't talent. It was that Tyler chose boring. He chose old. He chose something the world will always need and that nobody wanted to compete with him for. The question isn't which of these industries is the most exciting. The question is, which one can you start with what you have, where you are right now? If this video made you think differently about old industries, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring the businesses that actually build wealth. And tell me in the comments, which of these 10 industries surprised you the most? I'm John, and I'll see you in the next one.